With so much set up against us, it's a wonder how our black lights shine so bright. Meet some of today's most influential, non-traditional black movers and shakers. Our black is creative, resilient, accomplished, and ever rising. This is Our Black Rising. What's up, everybody? This is Kim Brio, host of Our Black Rising, and I am so excited, you guys. First of all, pause. You're here. Let's clap it up. I'm so excited that you're here and you're listening, guys. This show has definitely been in the making for quite some time, but everything that happens for a reason. The timing is perfect. Everything fell together. So here we are with the first season of Our Black Rising. A few housekeeping tips. First of all, y'all, for this first episode, before I even tell you who's on it or what's happening, I do want to apologize. The audio quality is not the best, but I recorded it at a peer space. It had a lot of air conditioner noise in the background, and it was all kind of nonsense. So I do want to give a special shout out to Tony Monix. Thank you so much, my audio guy, for coming in there and cleaning it up and getting it all together for us. But y'all, for this episode, I'm so excited because I had the opportunity to sit down with William Calloway. This has been a long time coming. I've been looking for this interview for a minute. For those of you who don't know where you recognize that name from, William Calloway was central and integral in getting the videotape released regarding the Laquan McDonald shooting here in Chicago. So with that being said, it should click for you. You'll definitely get it. But I wanted to not only introduce William to a bigger audience, but I also wanted to get to know William behind the activism. A lot of times we don't think about people as people. So that was a lot of what this interview was about, guys. We really had a good time. I apologize ahead of time for the audio quality, but you will love the interview. So without further ado, guys, here is the interview with William Calloway and the first episode of Our Black Rising. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Our Black Rising. This is your host, Kim Brio. Ahead of time, you guys know I'm technically usually very transparent in my recordings. So if you hear the AC in the background, I am at a pier space downtown, which is very beautiful, but the air is a bit loud. So I'm going to get my audio guy to get in here and see if he can remove this. But if you do hear the air, I do apologize, but I promise and guarantee you guys that this is going to be content that you're going to want to tune into. So for my first episode of Our Black Rising, I have William Calloway in the building. Yeah. Right? Insert applause. For those, funny story, we have been trying to get an interview in place for over a year now, I want to say.
Let's just say quite some time.
He a little bit. No, but you know what? But it doesn't matter. God doesn't make any mistakes, and timing is perfect. Yeah. I actually wanted to feature you on a different show, which was Black Quarantine Report, and it would have more so been about the city versus you. So now that this show is in fruition, I'm glad to have you on this show as the first person.
Hey, look at God.
Yes. So for those of you listening for the first time, Our Black Rising focuses on non-traditional African-American success. So we're not talking about millions and billions necessarily. We're talking about differences that are being made in the community. So I could not think of anyone better to start with than William. I know that I first learned of you when the rest of the world learned of you, I'm assuming, during the Laquan McDonald case, and you pushing forth with, I can't remember his name, sorry, the man from Sun Times, to get the video.
Brandon Smith.
Yes, released. Mm-hmm. So that is when I ran into you. I think that's when a lot of the public ran into you. But tell me a little bit about before that journey and how you got to that point.
Oh, great question. Before that journey, I was working daytime. I was working at Chicago Public Schools. I was a teacher assistant. I was working at CPS. And nighttime, I was a film student. I was going to school to be a film director at Columbia College. And then I transferred to the Art Institute. But I did that for several years. Then I was about 2015. I knew the Lord told me to stop working in CPS. He knew that my life was going in a different direction. I didn't know quite clearly what direction that the Lord was leading me into, but I felt for sure He wanted me to quit my job, and I didn't know where my next meal was going to come from. I didn't know anything. I just really stepped out on faith. I started working on a production of a film called The Encouragement at the time. And that was the name of the documentary I was working on. And in production of that documentary, I had the unfortunate opportunity to meet a young man by the name of Martinez Sutton at this, it was at a seminar at the University of Chicago about police violence. This was like 2012, 2013, way before, the conversation about police violence was what it is today. And that young man got up and he gave a very heartfelt and passionate and fired testimony about the murder of his sister. His sister was a young woman by the name of Rakia Boyd, and Rakia was shot and killed on the west side of Chicago by ex-Chicago police detective Dante Servin, and she was shot in the head. And that changed my life. Meeting him that day changed my life. I didn't know the chain of events that was going to lead after it, but it was just when I heard his testimony of his sister, just as a believer in Christ and just as a human, as a black man from the south side of Chicago, I just wanted to help him. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, it wasn't like, oh, let's go march, let's go do it. It was just like, bro, however I can be supportive to you and your family in this time, let me know. And that's how one thing led to another. And eventually, I started meeting more families who shared the same faith as his. Yeah, and I don't know, man. It was like a whirlwind of events that happened after that, and it led me to go after Laquan McDonald's videotape.
So let me ask you this. I want to dig a little deeper.
Sure.
If you can identify, what was it in you that he activated? What did that activation point feel like? Because I'm kind of listening to you. You say, God said, leave the job. I understand. I had to do a similar thing. God was like, leave. He was like, where I'm going. And God was like, don't worry about it. But what was it within you that was activated? What?
That's a great question. I don't think, again, it wasn't like that very day. It was like, okay, this is what I need to do with the next few years of my life. It was something that just sparked in me like I say, it was more of a humanitarian, and the empath. I'm naturally an empath. I get that from my mom. She cares about people. She's an Aquarius. Her birthday is on Valentine's Day.
She is walking love.
Right, she's walking love. Like, she's a minister. Like, she's the biggest. She has the biggest heart. I know. So I really get that from her. I'm just an empath by nature. So it's just like listening to him just spark something. And it was an awakening for sure, because I didn't know. We all know about police in the community, but when it's like when you have a face-to-face testimonial in front of you, it hits you differently. Yeah, it hits you very differently, and it awakened me for sure. It awakened me to be like, oh, okay, this is a serious problem. And I want to support him. It wasn't like I wanted to support this,
this city of...
Yeah, right. Yeah. It was just I wanted to support his family. And his family led me to meet so many other more families. Yeah. And that's how it kind of happened.
That's crazy. A few things. A lot of people, they heard you say empath, and that's really a hot word now. It's kind of one of those words now that everybody likes to tap into. But what a lot of people don't understand about empaths is that empaths a lot of times feel the energy of the people around them. Yeah. So it's not just like you're around somebody sad, so you look at them and you get a little sad. It's like you're around someone sad and you can kind of pick up their energy. personally, I think empaths are tools from God because you can carry burdens for people that are not necessarily ready to understand what burden they're carrying or get those off of them. But with that being said, I want to talk to you about the Laquan McDonald case. And I know that that was such a extended amount of time and a roller coaster ride. For sure. So understanding now that you're an empath, how did that affect you and how were you personally during that time?
With Laquan's situation, it affected me on it was on so many different fronts, right? And I just really realized this about myself like 2 years ago, that I only went after Laquan Tate initially because the officer who murdered Rakia got off. His charges were acquitted.
Right.
And his charges were acquitted on my birthday. And it's so crazy.
Because on your birthday this year. Yeah.
So I didn't even think about that.
That's crazy.
I didn't even think about that for real. But April 20th, 2015, Dante Servin was acquitted. And I remember going home and feeling like, man, what the heck? We done did everything right. And he walked, for technicality. And I remember praying to God and just like, man, Lord, you are God of justice. It's not in your will for us to suffer. You see us going through oppression. You see us being brutalized in this city and just across this country. Like, give me some type of strategy. Show me what to do next. And he kept, I remember I can't make this up. I was in my house and I was asleep in the middle of the night. And it's like, woke me up out of my sleep 2, 3 in the morning. And that kept happening for a few nights.
Until you pay attention.
Yeah, until I got up and was like, all right, I went forth. But the Laquan situation affected me on different fronts, man, because me and him, Mary Mitchell wrote an article when his tape was released. It was saying more than bullets killed Laquan. And she highlighted his life. She highlighted how he was birthed by a 15-year-old mother, 16-year-old mother, like I was. He was in and out the ID home as a juvenile like I was. He was a ward of the state like I was, in the foster system like I was. And there was other things that he went through in his life that I could identify with. But I didn't know that prior to going to his tape. It was after his tape was released and this information surfaced that I understood why God allowed me, because, I could relate to what he went through, as a 17-year-old, because I can't tell you how many times I was in the streets and I had more than a knife on me. You know what I'm saying? Right. And the Lord, my life was spared. And if I was running from the police or whatever, so it's just, it affected me on a whole different type of fronts for sure. But I'm grateful. It was some trauma there, fighting for people who've been murdered by systems that's supposed to protect you. That's traumatic in itself. And to think that they was murdered because of their ethnicity is even more triggering. So yeah, it's and I'm still trying to find what healing looks like for me, mental healing and spiritual healing after, because I feel like I was in a war. I feel like I just did 6 years in a war, and now I'm returning to
home.
Yeah.
And you still in war mindset.
And I'm in war mindset, and I'm trying to unplug. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to unplug from being on the front line for 6 years, and I come back like, I'm a highly decorated general, but my mind is everywhere. But yeah, anyways, Laquan, he definitely had a big effect on my life.
Well, I'm gonna ask you one more question, and then we're gonna hop to a break. But when you talk about unplugging, how easy is it to unplug when Laquan's story is consistently in the news, and it's not just him? We have the George Floyds, we got Breonna Taylors, we have the well-known names and the not so well-known names. So how easy is it for you to begin to assimilate being out of war, so to say, but understanding that war is still happening all around you?
Yeah, it's challenging. I think I've been working with trying to program myself to realize that that even though that I'm sort of unplugging and trying to return to quote unquote civilian life.
Mm-hmm.
The war is still on. The war is still going to be on, right? But it's challenging. I can't even really figure out how to like say I can unplug really, because it's hard, because I got dreams that I have. I daydream. I see stuff. If I had a word 16, I'm triggered.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? If I had McDonald, period, it don't have to be the part I'm triggered. It's just certain things that I'm triggered by. You know what I'm saying? It's like if I had Jason but not Van Dyke, I'm triggered.
You're still triggered.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just certain stuff that I ain't gonna say always, but I'm trying to find how to let go of my triggers. But it is difficult. It's a challenge, and it's not just a challenge for Will Calloway, but Black people in general in this country.
Absolutely. I think that's so important. Part of the reason I wanted to do this interview with you, for those listening in, and after the break, we're going to go into more personal details about understanding who you are. But a lot of people don't think about the fact that these are people behind everything. The activists you see, the even the singers, the entertainers, these are people. And these are people that have the same emotions and thoughts and struggles as you. And a lot of times we don't take the time to get to know those people and even empathize and sympathize. We're so judgmental on what they should and shouldn't do, and we don't know them.
Right.
So that was the reason that I wanted to have you here for this interview. So after this break, we are going to jump more into you. Okay. So we definitely covered who you are, the well-known parts, but now we're going to get to know you. So guys, take a listen to these quick ads, shameless plug. They are all for my companies. So go ahead, take advantage, and we will be back soon. If you're in the Chicagoland area and you're building a brand, I'm talking to you. My name is Kim Brio, and I'm a media personality and entrepreneur, but most importantly, I'm a brand builder. I'm the woman that everyone comes to when it's time to elevate their brand visually and strategically. I teach solopreneurs how to DIY dope brands, and I want to show you too. I'm hosting a 30-day brand takeover that will build or rebuild any brand for success. Over your 30 days, you'll meet and connect with fellow business owners on this same journey as you and get direct one-on-one brand consulting from me. This super inclusive experience includes your new website, a custom marketing plan and sales funnel, a social media strategy and content kit, and a super dope in-person VIP day with me, your cohorts, gifts, a taco bar, and a chance to have your new brand featured on a digital billboard over downtown Chicago. You cannot miss this opportunity. Apply today to see if you qualify for this exclusive experience at www.30daybrandtakeover.com. That's www.30daybrandtakeover.com. I can't wait to meet you and help you build a brand that you can be proud of. All right, you guys, welcome back to Our Black Rising. This is your host, Kim Brio, and I am still here with the one and only William Calloway.
Thank you.
It's been a great conversation so far, yes. So I definitely plan to dig in more. Before the break, we talked a lot about you and what you've done as far as activism is concerned and why the world knows who you are. I want to talk a little bit now about you, about your personality, about the things in your life that kind of led you to where you are. If you're a believer, and I'm going to just say anything. If you're a believer, you understand that things don't happen by coincidence, right? So using this as an example, even me hosting podcasts and stuff, I've been doing this since I was 9 or 10. I didn't know, but it all fed into everything that I was doing, right? So I want to know about William beforehand, and I'm going to drop a teaser that You guys, on April 30th, I don't know if I'm going to release this episode before that or not, but on April 30th, you will be releasing your short film,
Yes,
Free Gifts.
Free Gifts.
Thank you so much for inviting me to the viewing.
No doubt. Thanks for coming.
It was wonderful,
Thank you.
and it definitely gave us an insight into you as a person. Yeah. So I don't know if you want to use that as a basis to start, but tell me a little bit about who you are outside of activism.
Outside of activism,
he don't even know how to describe it. He was like, "Wait, I have an identity outside of that."
Whoa. I am a father. First and foremost, I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. I'm a father. I'm a son. I'm a brother. I'm an uncle. I'm a friend. I'm a confidant. I'm a huge peer supporter of all my peers. I'm real. I'm just like everybody else. I'm the same person you would meet on the red line. Y'all would be talking about whatever going on in the city, And
I mean, you are, but you're not. So shameless plug to One of One. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me a little bit about that song, because I think that'll help you dive into what makes you, you.
Yeah, One of One was specifically saying that I'm tailor-made for what God called me to do, what God gifted me to do. There's only one of me to go do what God anointed me to do. And that is applicable for everybody. You are one of one. No two snowflakes are alike.
Right.
No two people, even identical twins, have the same fingerprint. So we all are one of one in God's eyes, and that's what One of One was about. I know that God chose me specifically to do what He told me to do, what He anointed me to do. I'm one of one in that aspect. But yeah, I wouldn't even. You're right. I wouldn't know how to describe myself. I know how to describe stuff I've been through. I describe myself. I don't know. I like peach cobbler.
He was like, "Wait, I have life outside of work."
Yeah. I love film. I love art. I love music. I love making film. I love making music. I love art in general. I love all type of art, like any type of art you could possibly think of. You probably wouldn't even imagine. I just love art. I'm an art connoisseur. Always been like
full
that.
of creativity.
I just love, and I'm just like, I'm so creative. I just like watching creatives create. I just like watching people just create anything. I love media. I love art. That's something that's a huge passion, man, since I was a little boy. Just period. But yeah, so. I don't know, man. I was born in Inglewood, 15-year-old mother. I was raised in foster homes. I'm adopted. I was in the streets. My whole family was, conservative vice lords. I was a vice lord growing up. I've been shot. I've been in juvenile detention center. So, my upbringing was, I had a good childhood, but I think like any young man who didn't have certain resources or role models, I had my demons that I was battling myself, and I was trying to find my way before God saved me. So it was like I was just, I was trying to find myself, but I don't know. I love my city. I love black people. I love black people in this city. It's nothing I wouldn't do. I hope I've demonstrated that to black people in this city. You love us. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm still trying to find out how to describe I haven't been on an interview in a while, so I don't know how to set this.
You was like, oh, wait, oh, Lord.
You go on an interview for a job and they say you got to sell yourself.
And you be like, I do stuff.
Right.
And I do it good. But
I'm so used to other people. Oh, that's a word. I'm so used to other people, especially reporters and journalists, describing me.
Telling you who you are.
Telling me who I am to the public. That I've allowed that for so long that I didn't sort of got acclimated to it. But I sacrificed that, and I'm never with people telling me who I am. but I sacrificed that to gain access and a platform to allow them to tell the world what was going on with our culture. So I allowed that for them to introduce me as Laquan McDonald this, or activist this, or community organizer this, not knowing that I never wanted those titles associated to me. I never liked that.
You never sought it out.
I never sought it out. I never wanted that, and I definitely never sought it out. So it was kind of,
Okay, so let me ask you this. How did you feel, or when did you first realize that this was bigger than you thought it was going to be? When did you first realize, I have a name, I have some pull, they call me an activist, I'm on Channel 7 News, and this is not the first time, this is the 900th time. When did it hit you, and how did you feel about it?
When his tape dropped, for sure.
Yeah.
The week Laquan tape dropped. The week his tape dropped, and the week that his tape dropped on a Wednesday, and 2 days later, it was 1,000 people shutting down the biggest retail corridor in the city, right, at the Magnificent Mile protest. Right. That will always be historic. Like, and so crazy. I've been to 1,000 protests before that. That's one I didn't go to. I was so tired. Yeah. I was so, up to that point, I was so tired. And it was so crazy because I'm at the crib watching CNN, and I'm watching all these people, these pastors, these politicians. We used to try to beg to come out in the streets and march and protest with us before then. They finally was outside protesting, and I thought that was a good look, but I ain't go out that day. But anyways, when his tape dropped and the Mag Mal protest happened, then 2 days later, Gary McCarthy was dismissed from, and then a few days later, Loretta Lynch, the former Attorney General for the Department of Justice, said that they was going to launch a federal investigation. That's when I knew this was bigger.
This was bigger than
and people wouldn't even believe. When I went after Laquan tape, I promised to God, I thought we was going to protest for like 2 weeks and keep around. And keep moving. And it wasn't going to be nothing else after that. Yeah. I never in a million years thought all of this that has transferred. I mean, never. Like the things that have, like, in the ripple effect that it happened across the country, just with Laquan, and it happened on this movement for Black lives across the country. Never in a million years. I thought we was going to take the streets for a couple weeks and it was going to fizzle out, and that was it. My goal was to apply pressure on Rahm Emanuel. That's what was my true goal. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't even necessarily as much Chicago Police Department. It was to get Emanuel out of position.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this, with this being said. Let me say this for the people first. I want to talk a little bit about alignment. You spoke about that earlier. And the day of your showing for the short film, which was your birthday, is the same day that Derek Chauvin was convicted of murder in the death of George Floyd. And we all know that has swept not only the country, but the world, as far as being another case, unfortunately, that stands out to show the injustices of our people. I didn't know before you said this that your birthday in 2015 was when Dante Servin was let off.
I ain't thinking about that
just now. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about and kind of point out to people alignment. Yeah. When you are searching for your purpose, when you're understanding what God wants you to do, or He's giving you one step at a time, and you like, Lord, give me the whole blueprint, give me the plan, and He gives you one little crumb at a time. Yeah. There are certain things that you can do and see along the way that will align. God is not a God of coincidences.
No, He doesn't. He's not.
And I just wanted to point that out to the people because we slid past it, but it's really, really powerful to think about how God steps in and does things so specifically that it can't be nobody but Him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to touch on alignment and kind of pull that out. I know we talked about it, but I want the people to really hear that and apply that to themselves in listening to God and searching for your own purpose and figuring out what you're supposed to do. He's not going to give you the whole game plan. He's not going to say, you're going to go and you're going to do X, Y, Z, because number one, it's probably going to scare the fool out you and you're not going to want to do it no way. You're going to be like, yeah, nah, God, I'm straight. And number two, because some of us, we like to control the narrative. So if God tells us what to do, we be like, perfect. Let me go make this game plan, Lord. And he'd be like, that's not what I told you to do. Yeah. So I just wanted to pull that really quick. Now, the next segment, we're going to go in one more break after this. But before we do this, I kind of want to touch on your history, right? Young man, Inglewood. Inglewood is Inglewood and Cali and Chicago, y'all. Same concept, okay? Coming from a background that, like you said, you lacked resources. In some situations, you lacked guidance and that sort of thing, right? God calls a lot of people to do things, but it's up to them to actually do it, right? God will give you strings and give you ways to get pulled up out of your situation, but you don't have to take it. So with that being said, what do you think it was about your situation that helped you shift paths to who you are today versus being still in the streets? Because you can still be on the corner right now. And I know some of the people you probably kicked it with is on the same corner right now. So what happened with you? What do you think was the difference with you?
Favor. It's clear-cut favor. I can't describe anything else but favor. God. In Jeremiah 29, he says, I have thoughts of you, right? Or not Jeremiah 29, but he says that I knew you before you was in your mother's womb. Before you was in your mother's womb, I knew you. Thus says the Lord, right? And in another part of Jeremiah, he says, I have thoughts for you, thoughts to prosper you and give you an expected end. And that's, those passages and those scriptures has sort of been sort of the architect and sort of the foundation of my life. Because I look at the same thing. Me and my best friend could have went through the same exact thing. And his punishment came out different. His punishment and consequence was different than I was. I didn't take any other route. I ain't cut no corners. Like, we could do the exact same thing and come out on the other hand completely different. But I seen where the hand of God was on my life differently than possibly his. But that's because I had people praying, right? Right.
You had a village.
I had a prayer praying village.
Right.
And that's all I can accredit it to. It's nothing that, it's not luck, it's not the universe, it's not my ancestors. I don't really believe in. I believe in Jesus Christ. It was because the living God had his hand on my life and had a particular purpose and has a particular purpose for my life, that my life ended up on the trajectory that it went on. And I'm not saying that God put me on a path and sometimes I went left when I should have went right? But like somehow I always came back to where the route I should have been in, and that's only because he aligned me and he put that navigation system on me, like, okay, go this way, don't go that way. And that's something I can accredit God to, and only God alone. I don't know if you want to talk about alignment, what you was
Yeah, we're going to jump into a break really quick because I like to give them a little bit and then let them take a break. But we're going to come back in and we're going to jump into alignment, and then we're going to jump into purpose. Purpose. Yeah. And how it looks different for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay? And what people put on you as your purpose may not be what God said.
That's good.
Right?
Yeah.
So we will be right back, you guys. As always, all of these commercials are my businesses. So please, if you like the shows, if you like what I'm doing, support. We'll be right back. Hey girl. Yes, sis. I'm talking to you. I'm Kim Brio, founder of Black Girl Biz Club, and I've been looking for Black women entrepreneurs and business owners just like you. See, as of 2019, Black women accounted for nearly 21% of all female-owned businesses. That's epic. What's not so epic is that these same firms saw an average revenue of only $24,000 a year, while all other women-owned business firms averaged about $143,000 a year. That is not goals. So I got to thinking, if Black women made it a point to support and work with other Black women, we can make a measurable difference. That's when Black Girl Biz Club was born. Black Girl Biz Club is an ongoing campaign to promote, support, and grow Black women-owned businesses by featuring and promoting their businesses and brands to the world, and by promoting the circulation of dollars between Black female entrepreneurs. So, let's link up, sis. It's free to join, and you can add your brand to the official Black Girl Biz Club directory. We know who we are. We can show them way better than we can tell them. Join now for free at blackgirlbiz.club. That's blackgirlbiz.club. See you there. All right, everybody, welcome back to Our Black Rising. Today's episode is featuring William Calloway. And as always, this is your host, Kim Brio. William, thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thus far, we have definitely been digging in deep.
Yes.
I know that before we jumped into the last break, we wanted to kind of tie alignment into what you were just speaking about. So I want you to follow your heart and go ahead and speak on that.
Yeah, I just believe that like all things work together. I'm a firm believer in that if you believe in a higher power, you believe in God, I believe that all things work together for good. And so no matter whatever you're going through in your particular life, whatever decisions that you made, good decisions, not so good decisions, I believe, or mistakes that you made, I believe all things ultimately at the end of the day is going to work for your good. When you come out on the other end of it. And that's been a true testament of my life and the things that I've seen God do in my life. And I just have to trust. You have to trust your process, right? And you talked about how God won't show you the whole staircase. He might give you one staircase at a time. Right. He might give you one step at a time, because if He show you the whole staircase, then that doesn't require
humans,
faith.
And our brain can't, and it doesn't require faith. You're right.
It doesn't require faith, and without faith, no man can please God. So it's like, if I show you the whole staircase, why do you need faith? You know, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of it not seen. Right. Correct. So if you can't see it, then it's going to have to activate your faith. So it was things in my life that I couldn't see. Okay, Lord, how is this going to pan out? Or how is this, and to this day, right now, I'm like, okay, how is this going to happen? How am I going to do this? Or how are you going to do this? And it requires you to have faith, like that childlike faith onto God. Just like when you was a kid, you just have faith in your parents. So hopefully if you had a good household, a parental structure, you just had childlike faith for that adult in your life. Like, it's gonna get done. If they say it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. And I think that's just why I always been. And that having that faith and believing that all things work together for good was sort of the formula to keep me aligned on that alignment. And then it's just like I say, your gift will always make room for you. So once you find out what your gift is, it's going to make, the Bible even say that your gift will make room for you and bring you in front of the presence of great men. It was going to make room for you. So once you find out what your gift is, it's going, like God's word cannot lie, it is going to make room for you. It's going to open up doors for you that no man can open nor shut. And then one thing that I was saying at the premiere,
I was just about to ask you to go into that, the gift versus the calling.
Yeah, the gift, your gift versus your calling. That's something in the revelation I feel like the Holy Spirit had to show me over the past few weeks, was like, your gift and your calling are two different things. Like, your gift is something that doesn't burden you. It doesn't feel like a burden when to do it. It feels so light. It feels so easy. It feels so easy going. It's just your natural state. Like, your calling, that's something that might not be as the same. It might feel a little stressful. It might feel a little hard. It might feel a little burdensome. And that's why people have to differentiate the two. Once you find out what your gift is, you can differentiate it from what your calling is, because your gift and your calling are two separate things. Now, they can complement one another. 9 times out of 10, God is not going to call you to do something that you're not gifted with. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can call you to do something, but sure, you're going to have some gifts to complement that calling. And that's why I feel like So I found it interesting. Like, I'm gifted in the world of arts and visual film. That's something I feel like I'm gifted in. But I was called where I had to go get a video film released so the world could see it. You know, that's just God's sense of
alignment
humor. Alignment again, right? And that's just how God's sense of humor is, like that. But yeah, once we can figure out what your gift is, you can find out what your purpose is. Once you find out what your purpose is, you can find out your identity. And with your identity, God can find you because you're lost. We're lost. God, when people say, I found God. How? He was never
He
missing.
never went anywhere. It was us.
Right. He never was missing. You know what I'm saying? The word clearly say he leaves the 99 sheep to go find the one. You know what I'm saying? Like, we went missing.
Yeah.
But once we can identify who we are, you know what I'm saying? Once we have identity, we can know whose we are, who we belong to, what's our purpose, what's our gifts, right? And then ultimately your identity will lead you to salvation, because then the Lord can find you. Then you can put that bat signal in the sky, like, I'm here, Lord. You know what I'm saying? You found your identity. You can put that signal in the sky, like, here I go, God. Then he can come check for you. And that's how I believe that your gift can go into your purpose. Your purpose goes into your identity. Your identity goes into salvation. And I think it all can work in conundrum with one another. But people have to understand your calling. That's different. That's something that I didn't have that understanding as a young man, and even as an older gentleman. I just now getting that revelation that your gift and your calling now both come from God, but they're two different things. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
It's I need you to understand that is a word of wisdom for every age range. Let me be clear. When you spoke about that at the premiere, I came home and I was talking to my mother, who is a 70-plus-year-old minister, okay? And I'm talking to Mama and I'm telling her, and she goes, oh, so ministry, that's my calling. That's not my gift. Right? Exactly. And I was like, touche, Mama. You got it. That's definitely it. She was like, that's not my gift. But it's very funny, as you said, that for me personally, as I heard you say that at the event, what it did for me was made me identify what my calling was versus my gifts, and then how they intertwine. Because they intertwine so well that I didn't know how to see the difference between the two. You know what I mean? I was just like, this is all just one. And when you illustrated that, it made me also be able to move different. Because when I'm consciously in a situation that, and this was 2 days ago, but when I'm consciously in a situation where I'm loathing doing something, I'm like, Lord, I don't want to do it, but I understand this is my calling versus my gift, which is, for me, is graphic and web design. I can sit at the computer for 12 hours, design, listen to Beyonce, watch TV, and it doesn't feel like a burden. Right. You know, so it's just, that is such a powerful word, and I was going to ask you to go into it before you went into it, so that's perfect. That is perfect. Now, I want to go back a little bit.
Sure.
Because when I asked you about you, you kind of got a little tongue-tied, and I think that for a lot of us, myself included, we begin to identify with those things that we are passionate about, right? So I thought about myself when I asked you that question. You looked flustered. I have people all the time ask me, they're like, well, what do you do for fun? And I'm like, work. You know what I mean? Because your work becomes your passion, and that becomes a little bit of who you are. So what I want to do is talk to you a little bit about Christian Air. I did get a chance to check out the website, very well put together. I will tell you if it wasn't. I wouldn't tell you on air, but I will tell you if it wasn't.
Thank you.
I wouldn't tell you on air, but I will be like, I can update that. But it's great. But I checked out Christian Air, and a lot of the initiatives that you have, from the demands, from, you know, the Laquan McDonald, the
7.
Yeah, like you have so many initiatives. So I know that that's where your passion is. That's where you identify with yourself as. So talk to me a little bit about Christian Air, the current initiatives, and what you have planned.
Right. So Christian Air was I don't know if I was calling it a brainchild. That's my baby. That's my baby. I feel like God gave me Christian Air when I was 17. And it really started off, was supposed to be in the world of media arts. In like music, film, fashion, just like I said, I just love art, period. But as I grew and started to being called into activism, it spread it out into nonprofit and everything nonprofit and community development. And so therefore we are looking to like expand the gospel in those specific categories in film, and pushing the kingdom in the film culture, in the music culture, in the fashion culture, and of course in the streets and community development where we sort of really need it the most. I have a great team. I'm still building it, sort of the emphasis stages of building and creating the structure, just on just the build out. I'm thinking about like I'm currently the executive director of the nonprofit branch, but arm of our organization. But now I'm thinking about just
passing along.
Passing along, because I believe this my season has ended with that specific assignment. I think my season has ended. I've established it enough where I can pass it to somebody else to carry
and let it continue.
Especially probably need somebody. A younger 20-something-year-old black woman.
A mini you.
A mini me. Okay.
A mini you.
A mini me would give me headaches. So mini me might give me headaches. So somebody like that could definitely push the envelope and challenge the system. And I back them up like, what she said, what he said.
And challenge you. That's why you need a mini you to challenge you sometimes.
Because you need, and I definitely think it should be somebody a little bit younger that's more connected with the younger culture. So things that I might not be able to see or hear and be in tune as more, because I'm getting older, they can bring it to my attention. Like, hey, this, look, we need to look at this way. But so Christian is pretty much that, and those initiatives 70 times 7. It comes from there's a peace initiative. I really wanted to focus on towards gang violence and communal violence in the city, because a lot of times when the media is reporting about the violence, they like to say that it's gang violence, but when I think of gang violence, I think if you're from Chicago, and if I could be candid, I'll think about all the gangster disciples are beefing with the vice lords, the black disciples are beefing with this gang, right? I don't think, GDs is over here shooting up the GDs. Those are not.
That's not the same.
That's not the same, and not like how I was growing up, how it used to be. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there used to be structure,
right? When there used to be structure, and just even when the structure was starting to crumble, it still wasn't like all this factional fighting. But nonetheless, the 70 times 7 portion is to promote peace, because it's not just gang violence, it's retaliatory violence. So what you have is everybody trying to go get their lick back. And that's why the communal violence isn't ending, because we have to start looking at like the same rate 10 years ago people was dying. Black people in the city is dying the same way. Like we seeing 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds getting killed this year, and that was happening 10 years ago. They was 8, 9, 10 years old. They wasn't gang banging back then.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So what is going on, or what are we not doing right?
What torch is being passed down? What's happening?
It's really that unforgiveness being passed down from generation to generation, from community to community. Our side of the community ain't forgave their side of the community for something that happened years ago. So 70 times 7 is when Peter asked Jesus one time, Lord, how many times should I forgive my brother who did something against me? 7 times a day? And Jesus replied, no, I say you shall forgive him 70 times 7 times a day. And the Lord wasn't trying to quantify it. He was just saying no matter what.
To infinity,
low key. That you forgive. Because if somebody piss you off 400 times a day, that's really a serious problem.
I'm going to have to remove myself from the situation personally.
That's a huge problem. Somebody do something to you 400 times plus a day. But the Lord was just teaching us to, no matter what, this person does to you, him or her, you have to forgive them infinitely. And that 70 times 7 initiative is to teach forgiveness to our culture, specifically in Black culture in Chicago.
we're going to go to one more break because I want to keep going with you if that's okay. We can do another segment. Yeah. We're going to hop into one more break, and then when I come back, we're going to dig a little bit more into that. With us both being from Chicago, I want to specifically speak about the city and things that we can do to make a difference.
For sure.
So y'all will be right back. As always, you know whose commercials those are, so go on the bad. All right, see y'all soon. What's up, everybody? If you don't know me yet, my name is Kim Brio, and I'm a media personality and survivor's advocate, but most importantly, I am a brand builder. Now, I'm the woman that the dopest brands come to when it's time to elevate their brand visually and strategically. My passion is helping people build dope brands that truly represent them and garner the attention that they know they deserve. My mission in 2021 is to teach people just like you how to DIY dope brands that are strategically built to achieve your specific goals. Now, there's definitely a lot that goes into building a brand, but don't worry, I've got you covered. I've created a free checklist that you can go and download right now that tells you everything you need to have in place to build a solid brand foundation. So I want you to stop what you're doing right now and either click below or go directly to kimbrio.com/checklist. That's KIMBRIO.com/checklist. Grab that free checklist and start building your brand today. All right, lovely people, welcome back to Our Black Rising. This is your host, Kim Brio, and we're back again with William Calloway. We have been having a good conversation about you, about the world, about things that are going on, definitely tying it into our spiritual beliefs, which is very important because you can't operate outside of that. That's if right. You think you can, you're not really a believer. But I wanted to jump in here. Before we went to the break, we were talking about our city specifically, Chicago. And I want to ask you, you kind of talked about a little bit about why the gang violence is still forthcoming and still going on. But I want to paint a picture for you. In Chicago, that young Black, are we millennials?
I think anybody born after 85, 86.
Okay, so we still millennials then.
Yeah,
okay.
Born after 86.
Okay. So I want to ask this because I'm asking specifically. There's a group, obviously, of well-to-do African Americans. You know, us younger ones, the boss girls out here, and the boss boys, and the ones who live in Bronzeville, and the ones who live within these buildings within our walking distance. And y'all, we're on North Michigan Avenue. You feel me?
It's really nice.
So, and it's really nice. It's bougie. It makes you have a little accent and that sort of thing. So I'm asking a specific question for a specific reason. Yeah. How do they make a difference? A lot of times, you're not going to see them on the protest lines. A lot of times they don't necessarily know what to do, or when they give donations, they give it to organizations that really are not serving the community, etc. So I wanted to ask this specific question because this is a question that I've been wanting to ask you as someone who lives in the suburbs, you know what I mean, who's not in the midst of it all. What things can we do in addition to hitting the streets that are going to make a difference on a larger level?
That's a great question. And when people ask me that, I always just ask them, like, to sort of look inside of themselves and find out in what ways can they give back, right? It don't necessarily mean that it has to be directly concentrated to Chicago. It might be somebody on your block that needs some mentorship, right? It might be somebody in your community who might need some help. Somebody in your church who might need a little helping hand. So, we're going against a system. We're going against principalities, right, in this region. And we just need to fight that just together from different fronts. But if we're talking specifically Chicago, of course, I would try to I would definitely encourage the brethren to come out and participate outside and participate because it's a strength in numbers, and even in the 60s when the movement was popping, I think that all of the movement back then had different roles. Everybody had different roles. Even if you was, I was watching a documentary, and this sister, her name escapes me right now, but she was a well known entertainer at the time. And the movement was telling her they was trying to stop. They was trying to create desegregation in the South, and in one of the opera places that she was performing in, it was segregated, right? It would have blacks on one, blacks that would actually have to sit in the back, in the balcony, mm-hmm. and the whites was able to, you know what I mean? And they was telling the sister like, look, we need you to not perform. But the whites really loved this particular woman, this black woman, her voice and her performances, and it was things like that where we're not asking you to come and get when the fire hose is sick on us, not calling when the dogs is getting or anything like that, or come to the churches when bombs are going off. We're just asking you to not perform, right? To stand in solidarity with us. So it's ways that in our own perspective, our own professional ways that we can stand in solidarity with one another. And we have to ask ourselves, what does you standing in solidarity in your professional life, in your personal life, in your private life, what does that look like to help, encourage the movement or push the movement forward? Because we all have a role to play. I think we would be naive and it would be remiss of us to believe that none of us can do anything. Everybody's not meant to be Will Calloway. Everybody's not meant to be on the front line or go be as vocal in front of police. Like, that's not everybody's part, right? And some people have a financial role to play. Some people have some back rooms creating policy role to play. Some people need to put our narrative out in the media and in our own independent media. That's your role to play. Like, we all have to find out what our role is as a body. And do that. But I can't tell somebody what their role is. They would have to, an epiphany would have to happen for them, and some soul searching would have to happen for them in order to find out what their role is. But I would definitely encourage them to find out what their role is, their gift, and find out how they can implement that and stand in solidarity with the movement.
And I want to add to that, just for those people who were listening and wanted the answer to that question, a lot of it too is start living and thinking outside of yourself.
Yeah.
It's more than your day job, your life. We get caught up in our everyday lives that we very seldom concern ourselves with what's going on out in the world, especially Black people. We real quick to be like, that ain't my business. I'm going to just mind my business. No. It all matters. It's all your business. All of this is our business. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I definitely like that angle that you went. Like you said, it's an epiphany. It's a self-conviction if you know that you are not making any difference. You know if you're making a difference on a larger level or a smaller level.
Take the Montgomery boycott, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had a group of Black people that was so dedicated to what their brothers and their neighbors to the left and right and others Black was going through, that they all devoted to not ride the bus
for over a year.
To the point they gave each other rides, or they walked, they took bikes, they took any alternative option than to pay to get on the bus.
Right.
And that's something that they did collectively together. And this is the type of mindset, the type of synergy and the organizational structure that we should be able to have in today's society when we're talking about fighting oppression. Like, can you imagine if Black Chicago woke up and said, we're not going to work today.
We're not going to do it.
Imagine, look at this. 80% of the local union 301, that's in 248, that's the CTA bus and trains. 80% of the workforce is Black.
Yep.
Imagine if CTA workforce woke up today and said, we're not going to work. Do you know that would shut the whole city down if we didn't have any even in a pandemic? That would shut the whole city down. Well, we wouldn't have any public transportation. I mean, anything that we possibly would want, like if it's city related, like an ordinance.
We have the power.
We have the power to do just with, and not to like bullies, local 301, 248, I love them to life. But like just with the CTA unions alone, the black people at the CCA unions alone, we could do whatever we wanted. If they just woke up one day and said, "Nah, enough is enough. We shutting the city down until we get what our people need."
And I want to take this chance again to piggyback and pinpoint, you guys, we have to do something. You have to step outside of yourself, because the number one excuse and the number one go-to and the number one reason why it's not happening is everybody's worried about self. Yeah. If I don't go to work, because say the union did decide to do that, there's going to be a small faction who's like, well, I got my bills to pay. Yeah. So I'm going to go to work. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, it's kind of an uphill battle, but at the same time, every small drop in the bucket makes a difference. Yeah. And I think that people don't understand that, and they're really looking for that big, phenomenal thing that they could do. And it doesn't take that. It takes us all to do small, minor things in order for it to happen. And thinking about it, I was thinking about a documentary I watched. I can't remember if it was a Dr. King documentary or actually about the March on Washington, but it went in depth about how they got a storefront a couple blocks down the street in Washington a couple months before it happened, and they had an office of people. And you got to remember how many people showed up for this, y'all. This was before the internet. This was before cell phones. This was before all of that sort of thing. And they had this office of people who strategically were placed to get the word out nationwide. And they say, you got Mississippi, you go to the Mississippi places, and you got this, you go to these places, and you stay here so that you can collect the people that come in, and you set the buses up, and you do these logistics. And this is in 1960, whatever. So I'm just looking at all of the aspects that go into actual work that has to be done. Yeah. So don't ever think that you have to do activism in one certain way, but you do need to become active, y'all. Mm-hmm. Just saying. Just saying.
Word.
Now, I gave you a little forewarning about this.
Yo.
Okay, so y'all, we're going to wind this down for this interview, but I'm hoping that this is not the last time that we get to talk and have an interview with William. I'm putting him on the spot, so maybe he'll be like, yeah, sure, maybe one day. But this is what I asked William ahead of time, and I said, William, I want you to tell us 3 things that the public does not know about you. So, yeah, your close friends may know, but give us 3 things that the public may not know about you.
Public don't know about me. I'm adopted. That's
okay.
The public don't know that. A lot of people don't know that I'm adopted. I've been shot before. Been a victim. I've been shot before.
Wow.
What's the 3rd thing? Let me do something light.
No, don't give them nothing light. Come on, this is a serious topic. You already said peach cobbler. You can't use that one.
Dang, I sure. Dang, what if I change the ingredients? Like peach cobbler with golden graham?
No, that's...
No, okay.
What's your favorite thing to do to relax? When you have to step away from the world and you need to get your mind right, you need to get your mind centered.
Easy travel.
Travel. Okay, there we go. Where's your favorite travel place?
Paris.
You been to Paris already?
Twice.
I'm trying to be like William when I grow up, and I'm older than William. I'm trying to be like William when I grow up.
Paris twice.
So I think that right there is a fun fact. You've been to Paris twice, and you in your early 30s.
I've been to Paris at least 2 times.
Look at
and Jay-Z got a line like that.
That is what's in real life.
It's in the Eiffel like this, like dang, that's real.
Yeah, did you go up?
First time, no, neither one. The second time, I didn't feel like waiting in line. The first time, not either. The first time I saw the Eiffel, I was coming around the park because this is what a lot of people don't know. Chicago architecture, we're known as the second city. And that's because it was a huge fire here that burnt the whole city down. Right, of course. So the architectures that came...
Larry and the cow, we know. Yeah,
and there was a lot of French architectures that came and helped rebuild the city. So when you go to Paris, you will see like so many similarities
that remind you
of the crib. It's just like I kind of understood why Kanye liked going there so much because it reminds you of the crib. It's so beautiful. But it reminds you of Chicago so much. It reminds you of this downtown area,
Yeah.
especially Millennium Park and Grand Park. Man, it was like the bridges, everything. But the first time I saw the Eiffel Tower, man, it's I don't know, man. I just can't even let like put it in words. It was at nighttime too. I was coming around the
Oh,
park.
so it was lit up and everything.
It was lit up. I saw something in the sky like a light. Like, what the heck is that? And I came and I hit the corner and I walked and I just it was just.
And it was like, oh.
Exactly. I was like, oh my God, I'm embarrassed. It was
And
dope.
shout out to our city, y'all. If you are listening and you have never been to Chicago, please come. Downtown is like none other. I don't like the snow, but baby, I love my city.
Oh yeah.
Downtown is like none other if you haven't been. So
we'll be a month away from summertime shopping.
well, it depends on the day. Yeah, I was about to say I didn't wear no jacket today. It depends on the day, but I better hurry up to the car before I need a jacket. But William,
yes,
thank you so much.
It was an honor
for doing this interview. Thank you for this being the first episode of Our Black Rising.
I'm 101.
I'm
101.
You spoke it. So I do want to thank you really quick, you guys. Christianaire.com.
Yes.
Definitely go check out the website and tell them where they can find you on the social media.
Christianaire.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I need to tweet more at Calloway _.
Okay. Perfect, you guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. Catch this episode and feel free to share it at ourblackrising.com. And also make sure you like, share, and rate. Talk to y'all next time. Thank you for listening to Our Black Rising. Visit our website at ourblackrising.com. Follow me on all of the social media networks at I am Kimbrio. And support our show by liking, rating, and reviewing it. Also, make sure you share it with a friend and support the ads that you've heard in this show. We can't wait to talk to you next time.